Marcus Chen checked his weapon for the third time as the transport ship approached Zephyria. The crystalline world sparkled like a jewel against the black of space, its surface covered in towers that seemed to be made of pure light. He had seen many alien worlds during his years as a security specialist, but this one was different. This one was beautiful in a way that made him feel small. "First time seeing a Zephyrian world?" asked Captain Torres, the mission commander. She was watching Marcus through the viewport. "Yes, ma'am," Marcus replied. "The briefings didn't do it justice." Torres smiled. "Wait until you meet them. They're even more impressive than their cities." Marcus had read the files. The Zephyrians were an ancient race with the ability to manipulate energy with their minds. They could create shields, weapons, and tools from pure thought. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of humanity's. They lived for centuries and considered themselves the most advanced species in the galaxy. The transport docked at the Royal Spaceport. Marcus felt the artificial gravity shift as they connected to the station's systems. Through the airlock came a group of Zephyrians, and Marcus understood what Torres meant. They were tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to glow from within. Their eyes were large and bright, shifting colors like oil on water. They moved like dancers, each step perfectly placed. Their clothes appeared to be made of woven starlight. "Welcome to Zephyria," said the lead figure. His voice carried an accent that sounded like wind chimes. "I am Ambassador Valdris. We are honored by your visit." Captain Torres stepped forward. "The honor is ours, Ambassador. We look forward to the peace negotiations." Marcus noticed how Valdris's eyes passed over him without interest. To the Zephyrians, humans were useful but unremarkable. They saw humanity as a young race that was good for heavy work and fighting, but lacking in culture and intelligence. Marcus had dealt with alien prejudice before. It came with the job. "Princess Lyrelei will join us shortly," Valdris said. "She is most eager to learn about human customs." The princess entered the docking bay surrounded by 6 guards. Marcus had expected someone cold and distant, but she moved with genuine curiosity. Her eyes were bright gold, and when she looked at Marcus, she actually seemed to see him. "You are the security specialist," she said, approaching him directly. The guards tensed, but she waved them back. "I have read about human protective instincts. Is it true that humans will fight to defend others even when they have no chance of winning?" Marcus was surprised by the question. "Sometimes, Your Highness, when something is worth protecting." "Fascinating," she said. "Among my people, such behavior would be considered illogical. We calculate risks before acting." "Sometimes there isn't time to calculate," Marcus said. "Sometimes you just act." The princess tilted her head. "And this is considered admirable among humans?" "Depends on what you're protecting." Ambassador Valdris cleared his throat. "Princess, we should prepare for departure. The negotiations begin in 2 days." As they boarded the diplomatic vessel, Marcus took note of the security arrangements. The Zephyrian guards were impressive but relied entirely on their energy abilities. Their weapons were elegant devices that focused their natural powers. Their armor was beautiful but seemed more ceremonial than practical. The ship itself was a work of art. The walls seemed to be made of crystal that pulsed with soft light. The corridors were wide and curved, following patterns that hurt Marcus's eyes if he looked too closely. Everything was designed for beauty rather than function. Marcus's quarters were comfortable but strange. The bed adjusted itself to his body without being asked. The walls showed images of peaceful landscapes that changed as he watched. The bathroom had facilities he didn't recognize and was afraid to try. During the first day of travel, Marcus stayed in the background and watched. The princess spent time with the human diplomatic team, asking questions that surprised everyone. She wanted to know about human art, music, and literature. She asked about Earth's history and why humans wrote stories about heroes who died for others. In Zephyrian culture, she explained to Dr. Sarah Martinez, the mission's cultural specialist, individuals are valued for their contribution to society. Personal sacrifice for emotional reasons is seen as wasteful. "But don't you have stories about heroes?" Dr. Martinez asked. "Our heroes are those who make logical decisions that benefit the greatest number," the princess said. "They succeed through wisdom and planning, not through emotional impulses." Marcus found himself walking past their conversations more often than necessary. The princess's questions showed a mind that was genuinely curious about concepts her people found alien. She asked about human concepts of honor, loyalty, and sacrifice as if they were mathematical formulas she was trying to solve. On the second day, The princess approached Marcus directly. He was in the ship's small gymnasium, working through his daily training routine. The Zephyrian guards had watched him exercise before, but always with the polite disinterest they showed all human activities. "May I observe?" the princess asked. Marcus stopped his workout. "Of course, Your Highness." She watched as he continued his routine. After a few minutes, she said, "You train to fight without weapons or armor. Why?" "Because you can't always count on having equipment," Marcus said between exercises. "Sometimes all you have is yourself. But humans are physically weaker than most species. Why not focus entirely on technology?" Marcus paused. "Technology can fail. Equipment can be lost or broken. But if you train your mind and body, those are always with you." "You prepare for failure," she said. "It wasn't a question. We prepare for anything. Hope for the best, plan for the worst." The princess was quiet for a moment. "Your species has an interesting relationship with adversity. Most races try to eliminate challenges from their environment. Humans seem to embrace them. Challenges make us stronger," Marcus said. "Without them, we don't grow." "Growth through struggle," she mused. "This is a very human concept." That evening, Marcus was checking the ship's security systems when he found the princess in the observation deck. She was alone, which was unusual. Her guards were always nearby. "Is everything all right, Your Highness?" he asked. "I was thinking about our conversation," she said, "about preparing for failure. My people have become very good at avoiding failure." "Perhaps too good." Marcus joined her at the viewport. Space stretched out before them, full of stars and possibilities. "What do you mean?" he asked. "We have become so focused on perfection that we have forgotten how to adapt when things go wrong. We plan for success and assume our plans will work." She turned to look at him. "But humans plan for their plans to fail. You have backup plans for your backup plans. It's kept us alive this long," Marcus said. "Yes," she said quietly. "I think it has." The next morning, they would reach the neutral station where the peace talks would begin. Marcus completed his final security check and settled in for the night. He had no way of knowing that in 12 hours everything would change. He had no way of knowing that tomorrow he would have to choose between his life and hers, but that was tomorrow. Tonight he slept peacefully, dreaming of crystal cities and golden eyes that saw him as more than just another human soldier. The attack came without warning. Marcus was in the command center reviewing security protocols when the ship's alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed across every surface as the vessel shuddered under weapons fire. "What's happening?" Captain Torres demanded, rushing to the bridge. "Unknown vessels dropping out of hyperspace," reported the ship's captain, a Zephyrian named Kelnis. "They're jamming our communications." Marcus looked at the tactical display. 3 ships had surrounded them, smaller than their diplomatic vessel but heavily armed. Their design was crude but effective, built for one purpose, taking ships intact. "Pirates," Marcus said. "Void Syndicate by the look of those weapons." Princess Lyrily appeared on the bridge, her guards close behind. "Can we outrun them?" she asked. Captain Kelnis shook his head. "They have us surrounded and our engines are damaged. We're trapped." The lead pirate ship opened a communication channel. A scarred face appeared on the screen, human but twisted with greed and cruelty. Well, the pirate captain said. "A diplomatic vessel full of pretty Zephyrians. This is our lucky day, boys." His voice carried the accent of the outer colonies, rough and dangerous. "This is Captain Kelnis of the Zephyrian Diplomatic Service," Kelnis replied. "You are attacking a vessel under galactic protection. Stand down immediately." The pirate laughed. "Protection from who? By the time anyone knows you're missing, we'll be long gone with our prize." Marcus saw the princess's guards moving into defensive positions. Their hands glowed with energy as they prepared their weapons. But something was wrong. The energy around them seemed weaker than usual, flickering like a dying flame. "Captain," Marcus said quietly, "tell your guards to check their abilities." Kelnis looked confused but gave the order. The guards tried to form energy shields, but the familiar blue glow barely appeared before fading away. "Impossible," one of the guards whispered. Marcus understood immediately. Energy dampening field. They're using tech specifically designed to neutralize Zephyrian abilities. The pirate captain's smile grew wider. "Smart human. Yes, we know all about your pretty light shows. Spent a fortune on these dampening generators, but it'll be worth it when we sell the princess to the highest bidder." The ship shook again as the pirates attached boarding tubes. Marcus could hear the sound of cutting tools working on the hull. "How long until they break through?" Marcus asked. "Minutes," Kelness said. His confidence was gone, replaced by fear. Without their energy abilities, the Zephyrians were helpless. Marcus drew his weapon, a simple projectile pistol that looked primitive next to Zephyrian energy weapons. But right now, primitive was exactly what they needed. "Get the princess to the secure section," he told Torres. "I'll buy you time." "Marcus, there are dozens of them," Torres protested. "Then I better get started." The first boarding tube breached the hull near the cargo bay. Marcus was waiting. The pirates came through expecting to face energy weapons they had neutralized. Instead, they met bullets from a gun that didn't care about their dampening field. The first 3 pirates fell before they knew what hit them. The rest took cover and started returning fire with their own projectile weapons. Marcus rolled behind a cargo container as laser bolts burned the air where he had been standing. "Human!" one of the pirates shouted. "Surrender now and we'll make your death quick." Marcus answered with 2 more shots that sent the pirates diving for cover. He counted muzzle flashes and estimated numbers. At least 20 had come through this breach, and there would be more from other directions. He activated his communicator. "Torres, how long do you need?" 5 minutes to get the princess to the safe room." "You've got it." Marcus moved through the cargo bay like a ghost, using the confusion and poor lighting to his advantage. The pirates had superior numbers and firepower, but they were used to easy targets. They expected their dampening field to make this simple. They had never fought a human who turned disadvantages into weapons. Marcus used the ship's own systems against them. He triggered the fire suppression system, filling the cargo bay with thick foam that blinded the pirates but didn't affect his movement. He overloaded power conduits to create sparks and distractions. He even used the artificial gravity, cycling it on and off to throw the pirates off balance while he kept his footing. "What is this human doing?" he heard one pirate shout in confusion. "Just kill him," came the reply. But killing Marcus was proving harder than expected. Every time they thought they had him cornered, he found a new way out. He crawled through maintenance shafts, dropped from ceiling panels, and used every piece of equipment as either a weapon or a shield. The princess's guards tried to help, but without their energy powers, they were more liability than asset. Marcus ordered them back. "But we are sworn to protect her," one guard protested. "Then let me do my job so you can do yours," Marcus replied, reloading his weapon. More pirates breached the ship from 2 other directions. Marcus could hear them moving through the corridors, searching for the princess. He had to slow them down, but he was running out of ammunition and tricks. That's when he remembered the princess's lessons about Zephyrian technology. Their ships were powered by energy crystals that could be overloaded. Marcus made his way to the engine room, fighting through 2 more groups of pirates. "Torres," he called on his communicator. "Is the princess secure?" "Just reach the safe room." "Marcus, there are too many of them. Get out of there." "Negative. I'm going to give them something else to worry about." Marcus reached the engine room and found what he was looking for: the main power crystal that fed energy throughout the ship. Zephyrian technology was elegant and efficient, but it had one weakness. If you knew what you were doing, you could overload the whole system. Marcus didn't know what he was doing, but he was very good at improvising. He started pulling conduits and rerouting power flows, turning the ship's own energy systems into a weapon. The lights throughout the vessel began to flicker and spark. Emergency alarms added their voice to the chaos. "What's happening?" the pirate captain demanded over the communication system. Marcus smiled grimly. "You wanted a Zephyrian ship? Hope you can handle Zephyrian power levels." He triggered the overload just as a group of pirates burst into the engine room. The explosion of energy sent them flying, and throughout the ship every system went haywire. Lights exploded in showers of sparks. Gravity fluctuated wildly. The air recycling system pumped out clouds of vapor. In the confusion, Marcus made his way toward the safe room where the princess was hidden. But the pirates had found it too. He arrived to see them cutting through the door with plasma torches. "Almost through, Captain," one of them reported. Marcus had 3 bullets left and at least 8 pirates. The odds were impossible, but he had learned something important from the princess's questions about human nature. Sometimes humans didn't calculate the odds. Sometimes they just acted. The door to the safe room exploded inward. The pirates rushed through, weapons ready. Princess Lorelei stood in the center of the room, her guards around her in a protective circle. Without their powers, they could only stand and wait. "There she is," the lead pirate said. "Pretty as advertised. The boss is going to be very happy." That's when Marcus stepped through the smoke behind them. "Hey," he said. The pirates spun around. Marcus shot the first one, dove to the side, and shot the second. The remaining pirates opened fire, filling the room with laser bolts and projectile rounds. When the firing stopped, Marcus lay on the floor, his body burned and bleeding. The pirates moved forward to finish him off. The princess broke free from her guards and ran toward Marcus. One of the pirates raised his weapon to stop her, but Marcus used his last bullet to drop the man before his vision went black. The last thing he heard was the princess screaming his name as enemy weapons charged up to fire. Princess Lyrelei knelt beside Marcus's broken body as the remaining pirates aimed their weapons at her. Energy burns covered his chest and arms, and blood pooled beneath him on the metal floor. His breathing was shallow and irregular. "Step away from the human, princess," the lead pirate commanded. "He's done." But Lyrelei wasn't listening. She placed her hands on Marcus's wounds, and something unprecedented happened. Despite the energy-dampening field that had neutralized every other Zephyrian ability, golden light began to flow from her fingers into his body. The pirates stared in shock. "That's impossible," one of them whispered. "The dampener should stop that." "Some powers run deeper than technology," Lyrelei said, her voice strained with effort. She was pouring her own life force into Marcus, an act considered sacred among her people. It was done only for the most honored dead, to ensure their spirits found peace. She had never heard of it being done for the living. She had certainly never heard of it being done for an alien. The golden light spread through Marcus's body, stabilizing his heart rate and closing the worst of his wounds. But the effort was killing her. Zephyrian life force was not meant to be shared with other species. "Princess, stop," one of her guards pleaded. "You'll die." "He threw himself between me and death," she replied, sweat beading on her forehead. "Honor demands I do the same." The ship shuddered around them as Marcus's sabotage continued to wreak havoc on the systems. Emergency lights flickered and sparks rained from damaged conduits. The pirates looked nervous. "Captain," one of them called into his communicator, "the ship's falling apart. We need to get out of here." "Grab the princess and go," came the reply. "Leave the human." Two pirates moved forward, but as they reached for Lyrelei, Marcus's eyes snapped open. The life force transfer had brought him back to consciousness, though he was still badly injured. "Don't," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Touch her." The pirates laughed. "What are you going to do, human?" "You can barely move." Marcus smiled through the pain. "I don't have to move. I already won." The ship's lights went out completely, plunging them into darkness. In the distance, they could hear the sound of metal tearing and systems failing catastrophically. "What did you do?" the lead pirate demanded. "I turned your prize into your tomb," Marcus said. "The power overload is cascading through every system. In about 2 minutes, the main reactor will breach. This ship is going to tear itself apart." The pirates' communicators crackled to life. "All teams evacuate immediately. The ship's reactor is going critical." Panic spread through the boarding parties. The pirates abandoned their mission and ran for their ships, leaving behind their weapons in their haste to escape. Within minutes, the diplomatic vessel was alone again, but it was dying. Captain Torres and her team reached the safe room just as the Zephyrian rescue fleet dropped out of hyperspace. The cavalry had arrived, but they had almost come too late. "Medical teams to the safe room," Torres shouted into her communicator. "We have wounded." Princess Lyrelei collapsed as the last of her energy flowed into Marcus. She had given everything she could, and it might not be enough. Marcus was stable but unconscious, his body fighting to repair damage that should have killed any human. The rescue operation moved with practiced efficiency. Zephyrian medical technology was far beyond human capabilities, and within an hour, both Marcus and the princess were in specialized healing chambers aboard the rescue ship. Word of the attack spread quickly through Zephyrian space. The official reports were clinical and precise. Pirates had attacked a diplomatic vessel using energy-dampening technology. The human security specialist had defended the ship using improvised tactics. The princess had used life force transfer to save him, but the unofficial stories that spread through the royal court were different. They spoke of a human who had fought impossible odds without fear. They described tactics that turned a dying ship into a weapon. They told of improvisation and creativity that bordered on madness. Queen Seraphina read every report. She studied the technical analysis of Marcus's sabotage, which her engineers called brilliant in its simplicity. She reviewed the medical data that showed how a single human had survived injuries that would have killed most beings. But what interested her most were the personal accounts from the witnesses. He never hesitated, Captain Torres had written. When the odds were impossible, when any rational being would have surrendered, he kept fighting. Not because he thought he could win, but because giving up wasn't an option. Ambassador Valdris had been more analytical. The human displayed problem-solving capabilities I have never witnessed. He used our own technology against our enemies in ways we never imagined possible. His thinking patterns appear to operate outside conventional logic. The princess's personal guard had been the most revealing. Without his abilities, we were helpless. We are trained to fight with energy weapons and shields. When those failed, we had nothing. But the human fought with everything. His weapons, his environment, his mind, even his own body. He turned disadvantage into advantage through pure will. Queen Seraphina requested classified human military files from the Galactic Council. What she found challenged everything her species believed about humanity. Humans didn't just adapt to hostile environments, they sought them out. They took species that should have been evolutionary dead ends and turned them into allies. They found solutions to problems by changing the rules of the problems themselves. Most shocking of all, they regularly performed acts of self-sacrifice for abstract concepts like honor, duty, and friendship. Mother, Princess Lyrelei said when she was well enough to speak. She was sitting beside Marcus's healing chamber, watching the monitors that tracked his recovery. I need to understand something. What is it, my daughter? When the pirates were going to kill me, Marcus stepped between us. He knew it would likely kill him, but he did it anyway. Lyrelei's golden eyes were troubled. By our logic, this is madness. The loss of 2 lives instead of 1 serves no purpose. Queen Seraphina studied her daughter's face. But you don't believe it was madness. No, I think there are things more important than logical calculation. I think Marcus understood something we don't. And what is that? Princess Lyrelei looked at the human in the healing chamber, his body slowly repairing itself with Zephyrian technology and sheer human stubbornness. That some things are worth dying for, and if you're willing to die for something, you might just find a way to live for it too. 3 days later, other alien powers began making inquiries about the human who had defeated a full pirate boarding party using primitive tactics. The Altarian Empire wanted to interrogate him about human military capabilities. The Centauri Federation offered to purchase his service contract. Queen Seraphina's response was swift and absolute. She appeared before the Galactic Council with a declaration that shocked the galaxy. The human Marcus Chen is under the protection of the Zephyrian Crown. Any attempt to claim, interrogate, or harm him will be considered an act of war against our empire. But her next words would change the relationship between 2 species forever. He is ours now, and we are his. Marcus woke up in a room that looked like it was carved from a single crystal. Soft light flowed through the walls without any visible source, and the air tasted of ozone and starlight. Medical equipment surrounded his bed, but it was unlike anything he had ever seen. Instead of wires and tubes, streams of energy monitored his vital signs. "You're awake," said a familiar voice. Marcus turned his head carefully and saw Princess Lyrelei sitting in a chair beside his bed. She looked tired but unharmed. "Your Highness," he said, trying to sit up. Pain shot through his chest and he gasped. "Don't move," she said quickly. "The healing chambers repaired most of the damage, but your body is still recovering."
Human physiology is
different from ours. Our medical team had to improvise. Improvise? Marcus managed a weak smile. I thought that was a human specialty. It seems we're learning from you. The princess studied his face. Do you remember what happened? Marcus's memory returned in fragments. The attack, the fight, the desperate run through the ship. The pirates. Are they gone? Your sabotage destroyed their dampening equipment and nearly killed their boarding parties. They fled before the rescue ships arrived. She paused. You saved my life. Just doing my job. No, she said firmly. What you did went far beyond duty. You risked everything for someone you barely knew. Mother wants to meet with you when you're strong enough. The Queen. Here? She's been here for 2 days, waiting for you to wake up. Marcus, what you did has caused quite a stir in the royal court. And beyond. Over the next few hours, Marcus learned about the political storm his actions had created. Representatives from half a dozen alien powers had made inquiries about him. Some wanted to study human tactics. Others wanted to recruit him. A few wanted him eliminated as a potential threat. Queen Seraphina had rejected all of them. When the Queen finally entered his room, Marcus tried to sit up properly despite the pain. She was even more impressive than her daughter, tall and regal with skin that seemed to glow with inner starlight. Her presence filled the room like gravity. "Please remain comfortable," she said, gesturing for him to stay in bed. "I am Queen Seraphina. We have much to discuss, Your Majesty," Marcus said. "I'm honored." The Queen studied him with eyes that shifted from silver to gold. "Tell me, Marcus Chan, why did you do it?" "Do what, Your Majesty?" "Risk your life for my daughter. By any logical calculation, you should have sought safety for yourself. Instead, you chose almost certain death to protect someone from another species." Marcus thought about it. "She was in danger. I could help. It was that simple. Simple." The Queen repeated the word as if it were foreign. "Nothing is simple to my people. We analyze, calculate, plan for every possibility. Yet you made a split-second decision that saved my daughter's life and defeated an enemy that had neutralized our greatest advantages. I got lucky, did you?" The Queen moved closer. "Our engineers have studied your sabotage of the ship's systems. They called it brilliantly chaotic. You used our own technology in ways we never imagined. How did you know it would work?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "I didn't, but I had to try something." "You acted without certainty of success, yes. This is normal for humans. Sometimes you don't have time to be certain. Sometimes you just have to act and hope for the best." The Queen's expression grew thoughtful. "Hope. Another human concept my people find difficult to understand. We prefer probability calculations." "Probability said I was going to die on that ship," Marcus said. "Hope said maybe I could take some pirates with me and buy the princess time to escape. And when hope was not enough?" Marcus met her gaze. "Then I would have died trying. Some things are worth dying for." The Queen was silent for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was different, less formal. "Marcus, may I ask you something personal?" "Of course, Your Majesty." "What do you see when you look at me?" The question surprised him. "I see someone who cares deeply about her people and her daughter. Someone who has the weight of an empire on her shoulders, but still took time to visit a wounded human. You don't see an alien superior to your species?" "No, Your Majesty. I see someone doing a difficult job the best way she knows how. Same as anyone else." The Queen's eyes widened slightly. It was clear this was not the answer she had expected. "You speak to me as an equal. Should I not? I mean, no disrespect. That's exactly my point." The Queen sat down in the chair her daughter had vacated. "In 3,000 years of galactic civilization, no alien has ever spoken to me as an equal. They either grovel in fear or posture in arrogance. But you simply treat me as another person. Isn't that what you are?" The question hung in the air between them. Marcus realized he might have crossed a line, but the Queen didn't seem offended. If anything, she looked intrigued. "Tell me about human problem-solving," she said. "What would you like to know?" "Everything. How do you approach challenges? What do you do when conventional methods fail?" For the next hour, Marcus found himself explaining human concepts that seemed obvious to him, but revolutionary to her. He talked about thinking outside the box, about turning problems into opportunities, about the value of different perspectives. "Let me give you an example," the Queen said. "One of our medical devices in this room has been malfunctioning for days. Our technicians say it will require a complete replacement, which will take weeks to obtain." She pointed to a device that monitored his brain activity. The display flickered constantly, making it impossible to get clear readings. "What would a human do?" she asked. Marcus looked at the device. It was elegant and sophisticated, but he could see the problem immediately. "May I?" The Queen nodded. Marcus carefully reached over and unplugged a crystal component, rotated it 90 degrees and plugged it back in. The display stabilized immediately. "How did you?" The Queen stared at the now functioning device. The crystal was mounted backwards. "Simple fix. Our engineers spent days analyzing that malfunction. They created complex theories about power fluctuations and crystal degradation. Sometimes the simple answer is the right answer." The Queen stood up and began pacing the room. "Marcus, do you understand what you've just shown me? That your technicians might be overthinking things? that human cognitive patterns are fundamentally different from ours. We approach problems by building on established knowledge and proven methods. You approach them by questioning the basic assumptions. Marcus thought about that. I guess that's one way to put it. It's not just one way, the Queen said, her voice growing excited. It's the key to everything. Your species doesn't just adapt to environments. You change the environments to suit you. You don't just solve problems, you redefine what the problems are. She stopped pacing and looked directly at him. Marcus, what if I told you that my empire's greatest weakness is our inability to think like you do? I'd say every species has strengths and weaknesses. Yes, but what if your weaknesses are actually hidden strengths? What if the traits other species consider primitive are actually advantages? Marcus was beginning to understand where this conversation was heading. What are you proposing, Your Majesty? A partnership. Not the usual galactic alliance based on trade and mutual defense. Something new. Something that combines Zephyrian technology and resources with human innovation and adaptability. And if I refuse? The Queen smiled for the first time since entering the room. Then you'll go home to Earth with the gratitude of my empire and a very interesting story to tell. But I don't think you'll refuse. Why not? Because you're curious. Because you see possibilities where others see problems. Because you're human, and humans don't walk away from interesting challenges. She was right, and Marcus knew it. The idea intrigued him more than he wanted to admit. What exactly are you offering? He asked. Citizenship in the Zephyrian Empire, a position as advisor to the Crown, and the chance to help two species learn from each other in ways that could change the galaxy. Marcus looked around the crystal room, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. A routine diplomatic mission had become something else entirely. There's just one condition, the Queen added. What's that? You have to teach us how to think like humans. And in return, we'll show you what's possible when human creativity meets Zephyrian technology. Marcus smiled despite the pain in his chest. When do we start? 6 months later, Marcus stood in the great assembly hall of the Zephyrian Empire watching history unfold. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered for what would become known as the Alliance Reformation Summit. The hall itself was a marvel of crystal architecture that seemed to bend light and space, making it appear infinitely larger than it actually was. But Marcus wasn't thinking about the architecture. He was thinking about the conversation he'd had with Queen Seraphina that morning. The Altarians are demanding access to you again, she had said, reviewing the latest diplomatic communications. They claim your tactical innovations pose a threat to galactic stability. What do you want me to do? Marcus had asked. Nothing. I will handle this. Now, as he watched the Queen address the assembled delegates, Marcus understood what she meant. Honored representatives, Queen Seraphina began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. You have come here today seeking answers about the human in our midst. You want to understand how one individual could disrupt your carefully calculated strategies and challenge your assumptions about human capabilities. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The Altarian ambassador, a tall being with silver skin and multiple arms, stepped forward. Your Majesty, we simply request the opportunity to study this human's methods. For the good of galactic security, we must understand. No. The Queen's voice cut through his words like a blade. You must understand nothing. Marcus Chen is a citizen of the Zephyrian Empire. He is under our protection, and that protection is absolute. The Centauri representative, a reptilian being with golden scales, spoke next. With respect, Your Majesty, one human cannot be worth risking diplomatic relations across the galaxy. Queen Seraphina smiled, and Marcus recognized the expression. It was the same smile she wore when she was about to make a point that would change everything. You're wrong, she said simply. One human is worth exactly that much, but not for the reasons you think. She gestured, and the air above the assembly shimmered. Holographic displays appeared showing technical data and tactical analyses. 6 months ago, my daughter was attacked by pirates who had neutralized our greatest military advantage. We should have been helpless. Instead, one human security specialist defeated an entire boarding party using nothing but improvisation and determination. The displays showed Marcus's sabotage of the pirate ship, breaking down each tactical decision and its consequences. Our engineers studied his methods, the Queen continued. They discovered something remarkable. Human problem-solving operates on principles we had never considered. Where we see limitations, humans see possibilities. Where we calculate odds, humans create opportunities. Ambassador Valdris stepped forward from the Zephyrian delegation. Marcus barely recognized him. The dismissive arrogance was gone, replaced by something like respect. "The human has been training our military units," Valdris announced. "The results have been extraordinary. Our tactical effectiveness has increased by 300%. Not through better technology, but through better thinking." The alien delegates looked skeptical. The Altarian ambassador spoke again. "Surely you exaggerate. How could one individual make such a difference?" "Show them," Queen Seraphina said. The holographic display changed, showing a tactical simulation. Two fleets faced each other in deep space, one using traditional Zephyrian strategies, the other using hybrid tactics that Marcus had developed. The traditional fleet was larger and better equipped. The hybrid fleet looked outmatched in every way. The simulation ran for less than 10 minutes. When it ended, the traditional fleet was destroyed and the hybrid fleet had suffered minimal casualties. "How?" the Centauri representative demanded. Princess Lyrelai stepped forward to answer. She had changed in the months since the pirate attack, becoming more confident and decisive. Marcus was proud of her growth. "The hybrid fleet didn't fight the battle the enemy expected," she explained. "They turned their disadvantages into advantages. They used tactics that had never been tried before because no one had thought to try them." "This is what humans do," Queen Seraphina said. "They don't just adapt to circumstances, they change the circumstances. They don't just solve problems, they rewrite the rules of what problems can be." The assembly hall grew quiet as the implications sank in. Marcus could see the delegates' minds working, calculating what this might mean for the balance of power in the galaxy. The Altarian ambassador tried one more time. "Your Majesty, surely you understand our concerns." "If these human methods spread—" "They will spread," the Queen interrupted, "because we intend to share them." The announcement sent shockwaves through the assembly. Representatives began talking at once, their voices rising in alarm and confusion. Queen Seraphina waited for quiet, then continued. "Today I announce the formation of the Adaptive Alliance. Any species that wishes to learn human innovation techniques may join. In return, they will share their own knowledge and capabilities." "This is madness," the Altarian ambassador protested. "You're talking about fundamentally changing how galactic civilization operates." "Yes," the Queen said simply. "That's exactly what I'm talking about." She turned to look directly at Marcus, and he saw pride in her golden eyes. "Marcus Chen has shown us something we had forgotten in our thousands of years of careful civilization. Growth requires change. Change requires risk. And sometimes the greatest risk is refusing to take any risks at all." The Queen faced the assembly again. "The human concept of courage is not just about facing physical danger. It's about facing the unknown and choosing to step forward anyway. It's about believing that tomorrow can be better than today, even when logic suggests otherwise." She paused, letting her words sink in. "For too long, we have sought safety in stagnation. We have chosen predictability over possibility. But one human has shown us what we've been missing. He has shown us what we could become." The Centauri representative asked the question everyone was thinking. "And if we refuse to join this alliance?" "Then you will be left behind," Queen Seraphina said without emotion. "Not through any hostility on our part, but through your own choice to remain static while others grow." The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some species were intrigued by the possibilities. Others were terrified of the implications. But gradually the tide turned in favor of the new alliance. When the formal votes were tallied, 17 species had agreed to join the Adaptive Alliance. Others requested time to consider. Only the Altarians and 2 smaller empires refused outright. As the assembly began to disperse, Marcus found himself surrounded by delegates asking questions about human methods and tactics. He answered as best he could, but his attention was focused on Queen Seraphina. She was speaking quietly with Princess Lyrelai, and both were smiling. When they finished their conversation, the Queen approached Marcus. "Well," she asked, "how does it feel to accidentally start a galactic revolution?" "Honestly, a little overwhelming," Marcus admitted. 6 months ago, I was just a security specialist doing his job. And now?" Marcus looked around the hall at the aliens discussing human concepts like adaptability and creative problem-solving. He thought about the training programs he'd established, the tactical innovations his students had developed, and the friendships he'd built with beings from across the galaxy. Now I think I understand what you meant when you said I was yours, he said. And what's that? You didn't mean you owned me. You meant I belonged here, that I had a place and a purpose in something larger than myself. Queen Seraphina nodded. Very good. And do you understand what I meant when I said we were yours? Marcus thought about it. That the relationship goes both ways. That by accepting me you also accepted the responsibility to change. Exactly. We are bound together now, your species and mine. We will grow together or not at all. Princess Lyrelei joined them, her face bright with excitement. Marcus, the Centauri want you to visit their homeworld to demonstrate human tactics. The Polaris Collective wants to establish an exchange program, and the Vegan Alliance wants to know if all humans think like you do. Do they? Queen Seraphina asked, genuinely curious. Marcus laughed. Your Majesty, if you think I'm unusual, wait until you meet the rest of humanity. We're all different, but we're all human, which means we're all a little crazy, a little stubborn, and completely unwilling to accept that anything is impossible. Perfect, the Queen said. The galaxy could use more impossible things. As they walked through the crystal corridors of the palace, Marcus reflected on how much had changed since that diplomatic mission 6 months ago. He had come to protect a princess and ended up helping to reshape galactic civilization. Marcus, Princess Lyrelei said, interrupting his thoughts. I have a question. What's that? When you threw yourself between me and those pirates, did you think you would survive? Marcus considered the question seriously. Honestly? No, I thought I was going to die. Then why did you do it? Because some things are more important than survival. And because sometimes, if you're willing to die for something, you might just find a way to live for it instead. The princess smiled. I think I'm beginning to understand humans. Just beginning, Marcus said. Trust me, we're much stranger than you think. As they reached the palace's main entrance, Queen Seraphina stopped and turned to face Marcus.